Of course, like any other day, she had seen her 2-year-old daughter off to school, and Naomi Ado, who lives in a slum near the Graphic Road, expected the little girl to return home safely in the company of her schoolmates. But the story was different. While returning home, the girl was hit by a vehicle and run over by another. This is one of the many stories in the latest edition of the JoyNews Hotline documentary titled Crushed Young. Producer of the documentary, Setkwam Boateng, shared this excerpt.
Today, I am out on the Graphic Road here in Accra to meet a young woman who has been a victim of road traffic accident. She is called Naomi Ado. She lives around the Graphic Railway slum, 600 meters from the Graphic Road Highway. Tears build up in her eyes, and even before I engage her, she breaks down.
People they say me nampua, because they say me we are saying na baby. Why? Because many that's why I me bano. See that you baby papa be and they are shaming you. And to me so me yire me home. I'm assuming in cool school. See that she be obey at the papa be mammy. So me na bashuri uncle see aga. On a many year maybe be me babet or friend auntie Naomi, or friend mad. They be auntie Naomi and the one on the flame. Me need me na be a balance and edgy, Mammy Ankasa. Edgy.
On that day, Naomi saw her 8-year-old Class 2 daughter off to school, hoping they would reunite later in the day. This, however, became a mere wish.
Bani school, until all bano, and a traffic light in Ejuma. And you know when we say into all Tremuno, not cabin so every overhead Nisu, sunny, until a born and a rush in the hospital, and in the hospital, you drew on. I say.
On that day, Naomi was so sick that she wasn't able to rush to the Kolebu Teaching Hospital to see her daughter.
On that catcher, we collapse here. It is Benitiana behind an hour for, and I'm beside, and I must you see. Zuman in the Benicia may collapse here.
When the first car hit her, a second one ran over her at the Graphic Road traffic light intersection. According to hospital records from the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, her pupils had dilated and was bleeding from the nose and mouth by the time they reached the hospital. She also had a deep cut on her forehead. Her dream of becoming a journalist ended right there.
When we start mentioning children in this society, children from this level of society and what their loss means to their families, then we probably will start sitting up. For example, if it's an only child, for example, if it is a child born out of so many years of trying to have a child, or a child.
It's been 4 years.
We are to expect stories from these children who have gone through these difficult times. We are to hear that of Moses and Peter. And Moses is the reason we did this documentary. He's the inspiration, because it was his story I chanced on that made me go further and come up with this documentary. So the pain they are going through, the psychological impact of this on them, the effect on them. And for example, Moses is wondering how he could go back to school, and he's been asking the mom, so am I going to be in a wheelchair and go to school, knowing very well that in my school I was an athlete, I led the school parade, and at church I played the church drums. So he's been wondering how he's going to survive when he's discharged from the hospital, and it's painful. Then when we hear of Peter as well, and I got to know Peter through Dr. David. They worked on Peter, so he can tell you a lot about Peter and how they found Peter the first time that Peter was brought to Kolebu Teaching Hospital, how this young boy who was 6 years then was sent home to collect 3 CDs. as studies and preaching fee got knocked down and was amputated. Both legs are gone. These are harrowing stories from these children in Israel.
At times, it's difficult for relatives to even know that these children were with their parents and they got involved in an accident and either the parents died or the child died or what's happening to them. At times, you get families here and come for these children, take care of them. At times, when it involves only children, and I said earlier that from this, I got to know that there are quite a number of children who have died through road traffic accident. Israel, presently, some are in the mortuary. Nobody knows that they have been hit and they were killed and they are in the mortuary. So at times we hear that a child has gone missing and we run an announcement on radio, on TV, parents looking for that child. They don't hear from them, they don't see them. At times you also hear from the police tell us that they are about doing mass burial. So if your child is missing, you can't find your child, and you've heard that the police is going to do mass burial, I would advise you better go to that mortuary and search, because there are children like that, and there are some who have been mass buried because no family member showed up and they were buried.